Welcome back to the Ride Boundless podcast. On this episode, we have Jaime Fernandez and we have Daniel Del Rio, aka Rio, from Glendale Harley Davidson. On this episode of the podcast, we discussed motorcycles, Joshua Tree, a little adventure we took after renting bikes from Eagle Riders, and just regular lifestyle in LA versus Florida. Here we go. Don't lie, don't bullshit, don't nothing. Do you gotta pee?
A little bit, but I'm good.
You sure, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't want you to get up like 50 times
No,
and
no,
fucking,
I'm good.
because you are a master peer.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I made sure not to drink any liquor.
Master peer, master Vader.
I am a master
Okay.
debater.
Damn right. I hope Jaime's been recording this. Oh, you're on your bike, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last strings.
Yeah, that's the last one.
We got Rio and Jaime here. Rio, please tell us your background. Do you ride a motorcycle? What's your favorite motorcycle? How did you get into motorcycles?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Rio. So, a little bit about me. I'm working with Harley Davidson currently right now, specifically with Glendale over here in Los Angeles, California. I do ride a motorcycle. Right now, I have a Harley Davidson 2017 Street Bob. And favorite motorcycle? Man, that's a hard question. I'm pretty obsessed with the GS 1250 Adventure right now, I have to admit. So yeah, I think that's pretty much a front runner as it goes up right now.
And now, did you you said Glendale's your main dealership now? Did you work at another Harley dealer before? Or?
Yeah, so I worked with Glendale the last couple of years, and then I moved to Miami for just a bit, and I was working with Peterson's Harley Davidson family over there. And now I'm back here in California, so back with Glendale, California.
What's your riding experience or riding background versus Miami and California?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a night to day difference. You can't compare the quality and options that California gives you as a rider. In Miami is a great state. I'm Cuban. I grew up there. It's where I feel closest to home. But when it comes to riding, it's uncomparable, man. I remember moving back in October and hitting some of my favorite rides like the Crest or going to Old Road. And,
when you came back to...
Yeah, when I came back from the move, from the 8 months that I spent in Miami. And it kind of floored me, how beautiful the sceneries and the roads that we have here accessible to us. And, that you take for granted all the time. And yeah, it was a shocking, taking turns it's a whole different game, man. You can't compare.
Yeah, being a Cuban American, I always love when I go to Miami and you see the plane landing, how flat it is. You can see the whole fucking state.
Yeah.
Just landing. And I've also heard, I never done much riding in Florida, but I also heard that the only hills you can really ride, if any, is in Orlando, and it's like the entrance to Disney World or something. There's like some kind of hill that people ride or something.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a fun route going up the 7th up to Orlando. It was actually, so I did the route. It was 4 hours away from where I was living in Miami. So it wasn't a get up and go kind of ride. But when I dropped off my bike to get shipped back over to California, I took the route to California that day. And to Orlando. And I mean, it's a couple of cool routes. You get a couple of little, turns and stuff. But again, it's all flat. It's the humidity is crazy. I mean, funny side note is first week I was riding my bike in Miami. First ride, I literally had to pull over because I thought my bike was going to explode. And I said, oh, there's for sure something wrong with the bike, 100%.
What made you think that your bike was going to explode?
The abundance of heat just melting away every particle of my being.
Because the humidity.
Humidity my bike wasn't used to that on top of it. So it was pretty overwhelming. It's just all around. It's a whole different lifestyle there when it comes to the motorcycling community. And there definitely is a motorcycling community there. And you got some great guys, but it's more, I've found it's more of an individual riding and an individual, kind of respective bond that people have with riding there in Miami, as opposed to what I fell in love with in California was the community, and
The biker community.
The biker community. Yeah.
How people respond to each other. And
you know, why we're here now.
What do you see in California that you didn't see in Miami or Orlando or in Florida?
Absolutely, the community. It's a whole
in what
different
sense?
game.
But
So here in California, you know, it's just like a breeding ground for riders. Between the roads, between the events, between the history that's
are
been
people
formed.
more friendly? Is that kind of is that what
People
you're
are
saying,
absolutely more friendly here in California, or it just seems like there is a mutual interest that intrigues someone enough to risk a bond. You know, so in Miami, it was more about, you know, from my perspective, from what I gathered, it was more about, well, I ride a motorcycle, and that's pretty, you know, that's what I do. I ride a motorcycle. It wasn't about.
I think you were saying that when you saw other riders in Florida, if you wanted to like link with them, they were kind of like, nah, I kind of ride by myself.
Yeah. I would,
they like wanted to distance. Like here, people want to group together.
Yeah, exactly.
There, everybody's like, nah, I'm good, man.
Yeah, I would pull over when I would see a bike. And I'd say, hey, man, you know, I just moved back to Miami. Here's my card. I work with Harley Davidson. I'm trying to, you know, get a group going. You know, just good people with, you know, with good rides. And
fuck it,
and
even
yeah,
bad people. Like,
yeah, even
just
bad people.
group.
Yeah, just someone to fucking ride with, talk some crap, you know, and just enjoy what we all love doing. And it was just initially on every conversation, there was such a hesitation from everybody. They thought I was a solicitor. You know, they thought I was trying to sell them something or get something.
Anything.
Yeah, I wasn't promoting a single thing. I was just saying, hey, man, I'm new to town. What rides do you do? What groups do you ride with? And I mean, God, I'd say like 8 out of the 10 people I spoke with were, well, no, I ride by myself. You know, I don't do much weekend riding. It was more of a commuting thing, and yeah, just little to no events or rides that people did just for the sake of bonding, you know, just for the sake of saying, hey, this is what I love, and I want to share my space in you know, with people with similar mind frame.
So I'm speaking, and again, I'm a Cuban American. You know, I've been in California more than anything. I did live in Florida, but I never did any riding in Florida. 100%. I kind of understand what you're saying on the California aspect. Anybody you meet is willing to ride and get together, and where's the meet, and, you know, open rides and fun rides and, you know, fuck it rides. Everybody's down to ride in California.
Yeah.
Like people are looking for whatever reason to ride. Why do you think that, in your experience, that you don't see that in Florida? Why do you think people are kind of? Did you get a vibe of why you think that, or?
You know, one it's the geography. You know, it's the location. It's what's accessible. So in Florida, there aren't many, you know, just fun routes available to the crowd. My favorite route in particular, if you're ever in Florida, and, you know, this is not recommended by any law-abiding, factors by any means, but if you're in Key Biscayne, that Key Biscayne has a couple of miles that it is basically like a little island racetrack. And so what I would do is I would put a set list of songs on my iPhone, and I would see how many times I can loop around the island before the tracks, you know, ended. But that was pretty much it. I mean, there's another ride, you know, that you could go down to Key West from Miami that a good friend of mine, Ash, part of the Los Pepes crew, did with me. He came down in April. But the thing about that is that there's a 7-mile stretch where you get a lot of beautiful views. You get this amazing bridge, and if you're going down at the right time, it's an awesome ride. But other than that, you're just pretty much doing flat ground highway. So it doesn't produce a lot of enthusiasm, you know, to go on a 4-hour ride when you're pretty much only getting about 10 minutes of real luxury.
Now, quick question I gotta ask you, and this is from personal experience on a car. Did you get any brain fuck from riding and seeing the ocean on the right side versus the left side? Because in California, when you're riding north, the ocean's on the left side. But when you're riding north in Florida, it's on the right side. Did you feel how that was a brain fuck, or? No. I mean, mainly because we also ride back down, Robert. So we get the ocean on both sides. Right, but regardless, if you're going north. But if you're going north, doesn't it fuck you over? Like, I'm going north. Because when the ocean's on the right side in California, you're going south.
Yeah. No, I see. I see what you're saying.
I see that you have a very limited sense of direction. I understand it's going to be on both sides, but when you're driving 4 hours and the ocean's on the right-hand side, isn't there a moment that you're like, wait a minute,
am I in Mexico?
am I in fucking, like the ocean or something?
Yeah, no, I get that. You know what? I didn't really think about that until you brought that up right now. But it didn't really throw me off. No, it didn't really throw me off. I mean, it's
because literally I have driven, and you're driving towards Orlando, and if you try to go towards around the coast, just for a minute, you just kind of look over and you're like, what the fuck? Like, why is the ocean on the right? I'm going north and the ocean's on the right side of me. Like, it threw me off. But I'm a California regular.
It might be a personal thing also.
Also, this is an All Accents podcast brought to you by 3 non-Americans. And that's Jaime just jumping in right now in case you have no idea what a third party is saying.
Jaime is on this podcast too, guys.
Yeah.
He made it.
Previously introduced by Robert.
Previously introduced. But yeah, no.
No, yeah, I never, honestly, I never really thought about that until you brought it up right now. And yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a mindfuck now thinking about it in hindsight. But no, I never really thought about that, And again, there's such limited riding in Miami, and you don't really go up the coast much, because here in California you have this beautiful road going up the coast at the right time. You have you have an open lane and you can just ride up. But in Miami, you're pretty much riding oceanside when you're going up the coast, and you're talking about a light every 3 blocks. You're talking about constant tourist traffic, much condensed area.
You're also talking about when you travel that far, you got to do the tollways, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
they charge bikes, right?
Yeah, they charge bikes. Yeah, and it's just like I said, it's visually extremely unappealing. It doesn't bring much excitement to the motorcyclist, and that's why I feel like there's a lack of community and a lack of urgency to want to get together with people and just ride. The majority of the group rides that I did in Miami were basically, from my dealership, I do a ride every 3rd Sunday of the month, and we go to somewhere where there was decent food by the water and we can have a couple of drinks, and that was pretty much it. But the ride itself wasn't the priority. It was the destination. But without that, kind of fantasy of, okay, we're going to do this ride and get to this beautiful location. It was just more about, hey, we get there, we have some food, we get some drinks, and then we go ahead and fuck off.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, there was a time, each state's different. So California is the only state you can lane split. My first question would be, before you answer it, did you miss lane splitting? That's number one. Number two, again, every law is different each state. I believe Arizona has a no helmet law. Florida had a weird, interesting law that I read once a long time ago, and it was something along the lines of, if you have insurance, you don't have to wear a helmet. If you don't have insurance, you have to wear a helmet. Do you know about those laws? And can you clarify if you do?
Well, that's actually a pretty interesting point. I have no clue when it comes to the non-insurance mandatory helmet law.
In Florida?
Yeah, I know there's no lane splitting. Go ahead, Jaime.
Yeah, well, I think that it's not that you don't have to have insurance, but you don't have to have full coverage. You can have insurance to others. That is mandatory by law in any.
No. I understand. The question, just to clarify, is as a motorcyclist, if you have a full coverage insurance policy, you're not obligated by law to wear a helmet.
In Miami.
In Florida.
Yeah, correct. But it's just because
where in California, just for the listeners, you have to wear a helmet no matter what your coverage is, no matter if you have insurance or don't have insurance.
And I think Connecticut, Pennsylvania is the same way, and Massachusetts, I think, right? There is, the difference is when you don't have insurance, full cover. In Massachusetts. I was asking, brother. I was asking if it was the state or not. Not that I don't know how to spell it. Right. but I'm saying there's.
How do you spell it? No. The reason that if anybody in California asks why there would ever be an exception of not wearing helmets like Arizona or Florida or other states, is because the humidity and the heat of wearing a helmet, closed, is claustrophobic.
Well,
and the temperatures rise when you're
it's in New York.
Yeah, but see, this is what
in the summer, but then and then again, that's where you could change the different types of helmets. But that's why a lot of states have favored not to wear helmets because of climate.
Again, when you're not wearing a helmet, I think the insurance is what dictates the restriction, and it says, well, if you're not wearing a helmet, we don't cover you full coverage, because that will mean that we cover your own damages.
Anybody that's listening, if you know better about this, please just
comment,
follow, and please try to send us this information. I mean, it's going to be impossible to cover each state, but anyways, so you didn't recall or
yeah, I don't recall. And this is the thing about Florida, is that the same when it comes to the community is that I think we suffer from what I call a big El Papi syndrome. Which is just
Papi means his daddy or the daddy.
The daddy, the big guy, the guy. Everybody wants to be the guy, and we fought in Florida to legalize non-helmet use, but we didn't fight to legalize lane splitting. Which going back to that, with the humidity and the heat, and we don't want to wear a full face helmet all the time. Which it doesn't make a difference, because you can go for a half shell, but again, I think it's a big just kind of like vanity aspect that controls Miami and the people around it, where it's, I want to be seen on the motorcycle, and I want you to know who's riding, and I want to feel like a bad motherfucker, taking all the risk and not caring about, it's a weird kind of syndrome, man, and the no helmet law to me doesn't make sense when you're sitting in 3 hours worth of traffic and that kind of humidity and heat. And, like I said earlier in the podcast.
Would it be justified if there was lane splitting allowed?
I mean, maybe that's part of the cluster that isn't allowing lane splitting because of the no helmet laws, and it's an increased risk. But for myself personally, I would 100% take lane splitting over no helmet.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where I'll give a shout out to California. Obviously, California has one of the strongest rider communities in the country, and it's allowed us to do the lane splitting, where even police will tweet and say, "Hey, let a fucking bike split. Let them
give them space.
Give them space. Get the fuck out of the way."
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I took a ride one time with Eagle Riders, and we had all the reps from all the all the locations. It's 153 different locations, 10 corporate stores. We had over 200 bikes, and while we were doing a ride in Nevada, because we had a conference in Las Vegas, it was amazing how many people were trying to cut us out.
Yeah,
it was absurd.
Yeah.
People, there was a lady that was just coming in with no mercy, and I rolled right up to her and I said, I banged on her window. I was like, "Fucking move!" And she says, "No, I'm gonna fucking get in here. Like, you guys can't be fucking lane splitting. It's insane."
Yeah, I mean, and that's.
And I mentioned this before, but it was such a fucking trauma that you see this, because in California you get one every other asshole driving a Prius, cutting you off, which is another thing I don't fucking understand. Jaime is one of the best he's a good rider. He's not the best rider, but he's a good rider. But he has a Prius. And when you get in his Prius with him, he drives like every fucking asshole.
It's a conundrum.
Driver. Yeah,
it's a conundrum.
It's so fucking weird. I don't fucking get that.
It might be the car, though. It might be that the car doesn't let you see what you see on a motorcycle.
Something like move Prius. Every time I see fucking traffic, it's a fucking Prius. And getting in the car with Jaime, that's his Prius, I see him causing traffic.
I turn into Prius driver.
You turned into a Prius driver.
It's the opposite of a Power Ranger.
It's the opposite of a Power Ranger. Boom moment.
No, yeah, I definitely, in Miami.
And sorry, I've said this before. I'm just saying it again because it was really interesting to not throw things on the table because you hear everything on the mic.
No, this is my first podcast, so hello, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me.
And we're starting now.
So, Rio, Mark mentioned in the first episode that you basically started the crew of Los Pepes West Coast, and I want you to talk a little bit about the before I walked in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I wouldn't say that I started the crew. I would say that I was the kind of link in the chain to bring all these great people that I was fortunate enough to meet individually into a one unit, kind of aspect. So I was working with Glenda Harley Davidson, and at the time before I moved back to Miami.
Just to clarify, I want you to continue that. But interesting enough, the first podcast we did, it all came to you.
Yeah.
Especially for this West Coast.
Yeah.
Do you think you're fully responsible, or do you think you were just being a nice guy, or break it down? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no. And like I said, yeah, I don't think that there was any purpose or predetermined, kind of, how do I say? I didn't expect for it to happen. What happened was that I met a couple of great people individually who I had built a bond with, and I knew that, hey, these are a great group of people that I enjoy spending time with. I enjoy, sitting outside and having a conversation with. I enjoy going on a ride, and when we stop, getting to enjoy our company. And through one kind of factor or the other, it led up where I knew a handful of people that I just thought were just solid, genuine human beings. And then Jaime comes into play, and I meet Jaime outside of Lucky Wheels. And, going back to the first podcast, I was absolutely drunk when I met him. He didn't,
I didn't know him that well.
He didn't know me that well. But yeah, I definitely had a couple drinks with me.
I totally knew that. No, he wasn't.
I was in denial.
So I go outside to just catch a breath of fresh air and escape from the madness that was the Lucky Wheels chicken shit bingo environment. And me and Jaime, like he brought up in the first podcast, we had two diners pretty much all stocked, and we just
he said super stocked.
Yeah, it was super stocked. I think I had the bars. I don't remember.
was a month old.
So yeah, it was
both stock at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
kind of like your BMW right now. Just
it was fresh out of the womb. It was fresh. Let's not open it.
Like, that's not true, because it's not. It's done quite a bit. We'll
Hashtag Lone Rider. But no, so shout out. No, so yeah, we ended up, kind of in the same space we were standing at, and kind of universal agreement allowed us to just start shooting the shit for whatever reason it was. I don't even know how the conversation was.
Honestly, the first time when I saw you, I was looking at your bike with Judah and with a friend, and I thought you were gonna rob us or something, because you came,
shady. He looks shady.
He looked shady as fuck, and he also came with Ben, which
and Rio has a tendency. He's so good looking. He gets away with ripped shirts.
Exactly. So he was probably wearing a ripped shirt.
He can literally wear a trash bag, and he still looks sharp. It's just the trash bag makes it look so shady.
Yeah, not that sharp. He wasn't that sharp. Now I'm finding out he was drunk. So
so you had every reason to think he was shady.
So he was gonna rob me or something.
I come off aggressive. That's the problem. I come off aggressive.
And also Ben was right behind you. Ben is a guy that started his own thrift store. So basically, he wasn't wearing also like super.
Yeah, Ben at any given day basically looks homeless.
Correct.
Who's Ben?
Ben is a friend. Is a friend of Rio who used to ride with. Yeah. Who he was with that night and
with the stock bike.
With the stock bike, his bike was not stock all the way, right?
No, he had done a couple things. I had sold him the bike not too long ago after that day, and he had done a couple things to chopper it out. Because he wanted more of an old school feel to the bike, but yeah, it was pretty much just stock bike.
Yeah. So anyway, they came over and initially I told you that fuck, we're in trouble now, and then Rio started talking and I realized, oh, this fucker speaks Spanish, so that was my way out. Every time that I'm in a tough situation, whether it's police or people that I think are gonna rob me, I hope that they speak Spanish so I can make my way out of it.
And you did.
And I did.
You weren't robbed that night.
And actually, I did not get robbed that night. And Rio.
And you made a friend.
So who asked for whose phone number first?
Well, he asked me. He said, "Can we get? You want to get out of here?" And I said, "Not Rio. That's not my.
And that's when we fucked.
And I said, "No, let's do it right here." So yeah,
he had me buy him cake pops before I can smash.
I'm a cheap date from Starbucks.
You had to at hello.
Yeah.
No, it was nice. We talked about the bikes, or what we were planning on doing to them and our project, and then he mentioned that he had a big group, and I kind of showed him my photography and stuff, and we agreed on going on a ride and.
We talked for like, I think it was 30, 45 minutes at least. We ended up hanging out outside and talking, and like I said, it's just been a series of fortunate events where I've met great people and gotten to spend time with them and realized like, hey, these are people that I want to spend more time with. So in talking with Jaime, one, I thought, okay, man, this is a pretty cool guy. We're getting along pretty well. And I didn't have many friends here in California either because I was pretty recent to California. And I was very new to riding. I had only been riding 2 years.
Robert just popped open a beer and he's pouring out of the bottle.
And he is so cool.
He's so cool and quiet.
Dude, I just shit it at my own place.
He peed on his leg.
So while Robert's cleaning up, I'll finish up. So yeah, just to keep a long story short, and then Jaime, brings up that he had, Los Pepes and a crew in New York, and that he didn't really know many people here in California. And I thought, well, hey, listen, man, I like our vibe, and I think you're a pretty cool guy so far. Let's go for a ride.
You wanted to a second date?
Yeah, I wanted a second date. It's persistence, not pressure is what I was going for. And yeah, basically we went on a ride with Ash to Angeles Crest, and after that, right? Yeah, that was
No, we did a first ride which was way bigger.
Well,
then the next day when we went with Ash to
what is the Easter ride?
President's Day or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, something like that.
What year?
You were there, 2018.
So it had to be 18, yeah. About 2
or 17.
No,
18.
it was 18.
It was like March of 18.
Yeah, it was March of 18th. Yeah.
I'm gonna mix it up a little. So what was it? Joshua Tree?
Mm-hmm.
How many months ago? Maybe 3 months ago?
It was November.
So rumor has it in November, we all rented GS 1200s, BMWs from Eagle Riders, corporate office, which was a big switch from what we were currently riding, which was Dyna Lowrider S 2017. Jaime, me, 2016 Lowrider S. You were riding the 2017
Street
Bomb. We decided to get the GS 1200 BMW from Eagle Riders, and we took a trip to Joshua Tree. How was that?
I mean, listen, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, my new obsession has definitely become the GS Adventure. I mean, I remember the first 10 minutes of riding, we're all on Bluetooth, and I tell the guys, I'm like, oh shit, guys, we have a problem. And Jaime responds immediately. He's like, well, what's going on? And I go, I'm fucking obsessed. I'm already obsessed.
Which was fast because at the beginning, when we were on our way there, we had a terrible trip, a Friday afternoon, raining, rush hour. We took about 3 hours and a half in the traffic, and it was miserable.
We stopped like 2 hours into it,
and we were right here in East LA. It was terrible. But still, until we got there, I didn't see the value as much. Well, I did see that after 3 hours and a half, I wasn't tired.
Yeah,
which was
pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And also, all our luggage and camera equipment fit on the saddlebags and stuff, which was great. But you did realize before all of us, actually, before we stopped at In-N-Out.
He called it. Rio called it from the first few minutes. But I want to go to you, Jaime, because you're had a lowrider S, the greatest bike in the history of Harley Davidson. How did you feel? I mean,
like I said, I mean,
you didn't appreciate it.
I didn't appreciate it.
What made you appreciate it?
First of all,
And what changed in your life afterwards?
well, first of all, I was riding in the front of the crew of the ride there, and I had Milo right behind me with his own 1250 GS.
Which he purchased a 2019.
Yes,
He got it
2019.
used.
A couple of months
With
before.
low mileage.
Yes.
But he installed a what that was annoying you.
It's like a super big Denali horn, super loud. He was right behind me. We're all talking in the Sena. I'm frustrated as fuck because my bike, there's traffic. My bike doesn't sound because I had stock
All right,
bikes.
so wait, just to paint the scene. So Milo has his 1250 2019
1250G, yeah.
1250 GSA.
Yeah.
Okay, BMW. And Jaime and I, we went to Eagle Riders Hawthorne. Okay, and we were there about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Weather's cloudy. It's raining, and we start our little adventure.
We have Ash right behind us, which is terrified of rain.
And he's riding a
the whole time.
2016 FX DLS,
Correct.
and he's
Miserable.
He's at that point where he's just creating whatever reason not to ride.
Yeah.
But he's still riding.
Yeah.
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 Anyway,
Which he ate pork and didn't know. We'll get into that later.
I'm trying to guide everything as safely as possible. I have right behind is me in the front, Milo right behind me, and then Robert Rio and in the back, all the way back, Ash, I think. And we're talking in the scene as Ash is comparing to Rio, and Rio is retransmitting to us because we can't connect all of us together. I don't
He
know
has
why.
an older Cena. Shout out to Cena.
Yeah.
Great fucking devices.
And all I can hear for 3 hours is Milo with his Denali horn in the back of my head.
What did it sound?
It's like if it was a truck right behind me. All these guys, motherfuckers, laughing at me because they don't know what's happening because they're hearing it from all the way back. So it's not the same feeling. So no, I wasn't convinced in the first minutes of riding, but then we got there and I saw the stability of going 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour,
110 miles.
shooting pictures from the bike at 95 miles an hour, which I never do, by the way. This is not, I don't do illegal stuff.
Now, rumor has it you rode bitch while I was riding the bike.
At some point, I was cold.
It was the smoothest ride ever.
I was cold. I wanted
Best performance,
the
best rider.
the
best
warmth
everything.
of Robert's body, and I got on his bike because he had you had the top case, so it was like a backrest for me.
Passenger
To take some pictures and get all the footage.
How did it affect you after?
Well, it was sad. It was sad because right after we returned the motorcycles to Eagle Rider, I had to get on my bike, and it was stiff, heavy, or it felt really heavy, and it didn't turn, which is the highest difference that I see between the BMWs and the Harleys, the angle of turning, and also the distribution of the weight. Even though it's almost the same weight, it's like 40 pounds lower, I think, in the BMWs. It feels like you're 150 pounds lower.
Yeah, I don't even think the weight had that much of a difference, just for the simple fact that dry weight, it's like a 40-pound difference. But with all the bags,
it comes back to
and filling up the bags,
it comes back to the
it's probably
same,
even heavier.
Yeah, there's just a sense of
it's
agility
heavier.
and performance that it is really kind of incomparable, and I love my Harley. I boogie in it. I ride aggressively. I feel comfortable in the mountains, but there was just a sense of ease in performance and accessibility, whether it was turning or engaging the throttle and increasing speed, that just felt smooth. It's just apples to apples. Performance wise, it's it really kind of floored me. Even in the first couple of minutes,
And honestly,
I
the
felt
way back was incredible.
No,
Well,
the way back was magical.
Incredible. Yeah.
Magical.
Well, magical.
It was magical.
We were gonna leave. We were trying to
We were
avoid the
hauling
rain,
ass
but not just that.
in the rain
Before that, we
with
did.
some traffic
we did off-road.
and wind. We had wind trying to fucking push us out. And I've ridden So we went to Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree is towards Palm Springs. Palm Springs is southeast of Los Angeles. It gets very fucking windy. I've done it with an Ultra. I had Bella in the back, and it gets so fucking... I mean, this is the capital of windmills. That's how windy it gets. Yeah. And I've done it on a Harley. It was scary as fuck. We did it on the GSAs, the GS Adventure, and it wasn't scary. It was indulging. It was fun. It felt like we were fucking like warriors just riding through the fucking wind.
Yeah, you're just sifting through that wind.
Fast also. It was fast.
It was magical. It was a magical experience. Okay, Jaime, just because I cut you off, how did it change your life?
Well, man, because I wanted to talk about, because when we left the house, we had a doubt because we saw the sky and we were like, well, should we risk it and not get into the rain, right now and hold for a little bit, and maybe the rain passes and we don't hit it. And we went to, and that's the only moment when we went off-roading. Remember that we went to, this land that is like no man's land basically in Joshua Tree, where you can just do whatever you want. People camp.
Joshua Tree is by 29 Palms, where the Marine base is at. It's really in the middle of nowhere. This is where the Marines train. They camp out in the fucking hills. My buddy Guillermo, he was based there. They literally put you... There's a military base, but when you go to that military base, there's about 3 days that you go just with one other person, and you camp out in the mountain, and you freeze your ass. And you got to hug, from what Guillermo told me, you got to hug the other person to get body heat.
No, it makes sense.
It's but imagine how fucking miserable it is that you got to hug another person, regardless of the sex, to keep warm, to get body heat. Yeah. It's miserable. And this is where we rode out to.
It's probably the first time that Guillermo hugged somebody after sex.
Or before sex. Yeah. The climate is very, very, very extreme.
So anyway, we went there to ride a little bit just to test the bikes because we hadn't ever gone off-roading with these bikes.
Why did we go to Joshua Tree?
To get
food. You were responsible for that.
Yeah. I organized this trip to get some footage for the vest that we collaborated on Spinosa.
Well, not only that, but you had been there before, right?
I have been there for my wife and I go there about twice a year. But yeah, some of the guys had not been there, and I needed some footage for the vests that we were releasing with Spinosa.
The collaboration with
Spinosa, and I really like the pictures that I got of Rio and Jumbo and Colin at
I shaved my beard
at Palmdale. And yeah, you fucked up.
I fucked up.
My hair was colored. I looked like a Malfoy.
It was a terrible group of models.
We were at the worst of our capacity. We had like platinum purple hair.
Jaime's disappointment level was at an exceeding high.
Exceeding high. I've never had a goatee, but for some reason somebody fucked up something, and I ended up with a goatee.
Listen, it wasn't a great group of models, but luckily you guys were wearing helmets the whole time, so or most of the times. But anyway, the way back included that off-road part that I with a Harley I was never able to do, so that convinced me a lot. Getting back here, getting on my low-rated S, being super heavy and stiff, and not being able to turn it as well as the other one. And also the comfort and the way that these bikes, the GSs cover your legs while you're riding, and you have barely any wind on your body.
100%. Actually, now that you say that, the GSA experience for me was Milo, that had his 2019 GSA, came over my house. He was swapping out a helmet, and we were riding to meet with you at your house, at Jaime's house. And it was raining, it was pouring. And I was actually riding a 2020 Street Light. And I was miserable because as it's raining from my knees down, I'm getting soaked 100%.
Yeah.
And Milo, having the GSA, was not getting soaked at all. And we were using Waze, and Waze wanted us to cut through downtown instead of going to the 101 to the 405 to your house. we were cutting through the city. So by the time I got to Jaime's house, where then we were going to go to Eagle Riders, I was soaked.
We ended up in the dryer.
Yeah, we ended up at the dryer. Yeah, that's right. Because then when Rio met up with us,
He was
there,
way more soaked.
he was soaked.
I was
And
soaked.
we were. He was completely soaked on the street light.
I was
2020
I was
that I got from Shout Out Martell's. From the knees down, I was soaked. We stripped down and we had to dry our clothes.
And this is one of the proud moments when I could say to Robert, I was on my Prius.
Fuck Prius. Fuck Prius. Right.
So anyway, yeah, that experience changed my life. Since that moment, I was looking for the way of getting a GS, no matter how much it cost. And it took me 2 weeks.
So when you got back, you found a way of getting a GS.
Yeah,
A GSA.
a GSA, yeah. So the ones we rented were the 1200
So within
GS.
2 weeks, you bought a bike.
Correct.
That's ridiculous.
And I would say encourage you to buy yours.
That's right, because the next day, I got mine.
So my encouragement, if you guys listen to the last episode,
So just for the record, my bike's newer than yours.
your bike is 18 hours newer than mine, but
So short answer is
but
yes.
I mean, I could reveal the reasons if you want. No, I mean, I think it's pretty fun to brag about, that I've been able to convince you to buy 2 2020 motorcycles in an extent of 2 weeks. I'm pretty proud of it.
Impressive that Milo encouraged us to fucking buy.
Definitely, it's impressive that Milo convinces us to buy anything.
To buy anything.
Yeah.
Shout out to Milo.
Shout out to Milo slanging them beans out in this hard time of coronavirus.
So we rented motorcycles after the fucking 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah. And 3 weeks, 2 weeks after we were
We were
at
we were at
Riverside.
a dealership,
We were at
Riverside
Riverside,
BMW, and we were all
Sitting-
negotiating.
sitting on Jeff's desk for
His desk
exactly
or his what?
on his desk. Exactly for about 9 hours we were there.
I'm gonna add this. My personal experience with the GSA. I used to be the general manager for Eagle Riders in Hawthorne, and I remember it was 2015. They just released the 2016 GSA. We got some in, to rent out, and it had the key fob. It had all the fancy, dandy things. I went ahead and I took the bike and I rode it up Malibu. And my experience back then was it had a lot of power. I originally put the key in my top shirt pocket, and when I accelerated, the front tire picked up. The key flew out of my fucking pocket, and I fucked up the key. Luckily, I thought when I was gonna drop, I thought I'm gonna drop the bike. And I was impressed by the power.
Yeah.
But when I rode it up Malibu, I went to Neptune's Net, which is a biker restaurant in Malibu off PCH. When I rode up there and rode back down, I hit some traffic. And I didn't really like the bike because I felt like the seat was pushing me forward. And my hands were on the handlebars too much, and the handlebars I felt like they were
a lot
too
of your weight was on your hands.
A lot of my weight was on my hands, and it really hurt my hands. I was like, I gotta get risers to maybe enjoy it, or I gotta change the seat. Anyways, long story short, when I got back to Eagle Riders, I thought, okay, it's a fast bike, it's a performing bike, but it's uncomfortable, For whatever reason, when we, 3 years later, what was it, 2000? No, it was last year. It was 2019.
Yeah, November.
So 3 years later, having this experience and having it for 3-4 days, I was like, fuck, this is an amazing fucking bike.
One thing changes everything.
Well, hold on.
There is your riding group.
Well, one, it was a riding group, but all of us still had the issue that the seat was a little bit uncomfortable because our balls were being smashed on the stock seat.
Or it might be a balls problem, one of both.
Well, our balls are too big. That's the fucking thing. Except for Rio, his dick's too big. Never heard anything about his balls. His dick's too big. Whatever. So he was smashing his dick. So when we bought our bikes, the first thing we did is we went to Saddleman. Shout out to Carlos, hooked up some fucking seats, and that made a world of difference on riding performance. All of a sudden, we're not interested in looking at risers. All of a sudden,
You can touch the floor.
All of a sudden, you can touch the floor, Hyman.
No, you can touch the floor.
No, you can touch the floor. All of a sudden, we could touch the floor.
Can we stop right here to make your purchase experience? Can you talk to us about your purchase experience?
Well, I was gonna buy my bike first, but I decided not to because
the real one, though.
I wasn't sure if that was the right decision. And then you desperately bought yours. In 18 hours, I decided why not.
Can you tell now the real story about your? Why did you pick the GSA and not the GSA Bulldog that we call it? Yeah.
So I'm 5'8", and
Proudly though.
proudly 5'8", proudly 5'8", and during this proudly 5'8", I got on the GSA and I felt it was a little tall, especially because it has you can have the adjustable suspension. I think it has a give of 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And at the lowest setting, 3?
Yeah.
At the lowest setting, I felt I was tippy-toeing. I didn't feel I was tippy-toeing. I was tippy-toeing.
You're still tippy-toeing.
I'm still tippy-toeing on the bike. And I thought to myself, like, maybe I should get the lower one because the BMW makes a lower bike for people that have a height capacity.
Handicap. High handicap.
No, it's not a handicap. People with big dicks that hold their bodies down. It's not a handicap. So I tried their shorter version, which we call the Bulldog, because it looks like a bulldog. And I felt pretty comfortable. Heels on the floor.
Until?
I felt great. Until you shut the fuck up. So I was like, this is pretty good. But unfortunately, the color scheme of the Pitbull was the same color scheme as the one Jaime wanted to get, which he's only like a 1/4 inch taller.
I'm 2 inches taller.
That's what she said.
Not just laying there.
He pulls up next to me, and I felt like a fucking midget. And I was like, I'm not getting no fucking shorter bike than this motherfucker. He'll ruin my life for the rest of my life, Fuck this. So I got the standard GSA. And thanks to Carlos at Saddleman.
And the color you like, which is good.
And the color that I like. Yeah, absolutely. The standard BMW. I wanted my bike to look like a BMX bike. Anyways, that's not here or there. Jaime made the move. I made the move. The question is, Rio, were you not influenced to make the move, or did you not like it that much? Or?
Oh no, I mean, I'll say this: my delay in the switch is strictly based on finances. I've moved across the country 3 times in the last 3 years, and it's taken a burden, on the wallet. So, basically, the only reason I haven't made the switch was because of finances. And now, with that said, it doesn't mean that I didn't try. There was a used Bulldog, a lower suspension, 2018, pretty much exactly how I wanted it, off of a dealership that I tried to figure out the numbers. It just didn't work out. But it's not from a lack of want or a lack of try. Also, shout out to Burbank. You haven't hit me back up. I've been waiting for you to do
Burbank BMW.
Burbank BMW. I was supposed to get a call from them Thursday because they got a Bulldog in the Kalamata. And I was going to go over there and make the switch. I know, but at least, sons of bitches, you got to call me and tell me so I don't get all hyped up. But no, honestly, the only reason I haven't made the switch is because I've been a little bit more frugal and a little bit, I've been more cautious with my expenses. And, starting off back in California now by myself and all that, bullshit. Basically, if I had the option with absolutely no repercussions of, hey, make the switch, 100% without thinking about it twice, I would, without a doubt, be on a GS 1250 adventure.
Would you sell your bike? Did you have the chance of buying the BMW?
100%.
You would sell it? You wouldn't get both if you could financially afford it?
No, you know what? So this kind of goes back to what you said, what Jaime said earlier, and it's that initially I thought having both bikes would be great because listen, I love Harley Davidson. There's definitely a soul, a community, kind of a passion behind the brand that drives the continuous success of the company. But one of the things that Jaime said that really kind of triggered me was that he was like, "There's never a day that I walk down to the garage and think I want to ride a less comfortable bike," and that goes to that goes into a lot of different factors. It's the performance in suspension, the performance in the engine, the agility. So it's not just about, hey, my seat is very comfortable and I get to ride, feeling like I'm on a sofa. No, it's not just about one factor. It is a multitude of factors that kind of, apples for apples lets you see that this is just a better performing and ergonomical vehicle.
I mean, you are giving up a lot. Also, when you buy a BMW, all the cool factor of I'm a Harley person, everybody's looking at me, I look badass. You might look in a BMW, you might look like a badass father. But really cool.
It's the poppy syndrome that I say about in Miami. It's the same syndrome that we have here in the West Coast. It's the SOA syndrome. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to be Jack Teller, and I get it, man, because I saw the series. I fucking loved it. There's, I feel badass on my club style. It's a cool presence when I pull up. You think, that whoever wants you more. There's definitely, like I said, there's definitely a soul, a feel, a fire behind the brand that encourages you to be a Harley Davidson enthusiast. But yeah, there's just something, man. There's just something that you just cannot deny about the performance.
And here's how I'm going to close it off, because we're at already 53 minutes. The way I'm going to close it off is this. Harley Davidson is truly a lifestyle motorcycle owning. And the feel and the vibe and the way you dress and the way you handle things is just amazing. And the community is outstanding. But just like anything else, BMW's performance is outstanding. And when you're comparing the BMW GSA or any European brand bike to a Harley Davidson, you're literally comparing a performance bike to a hot rod. And everybody wants that hot rod. And that hot rod creates a lifestyle, which is amazing, and everybody respects it. Who doesn't want to be the James Dean of motorcycle riders? Or have that style or lifestyle and have that image when you go around town or visit your friends or your family. But what ends up happening is, as you ride, you want to ride further. And as you ride further, you start getting more into performance, suspension, handling. And you could do this all with Harley. Absolutely. And I know thousands of people that get their bikes all suited up. And it's straight up performance, and they spend $5,000, $10,000, and you could do that. But what I am saying is that you could buy a BMW GSA stock from the factory, and it's going to be the smoothest riding motorcycle out there. Anyways, we're going to end the podcast here. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, follow, listen. Rio, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your feedback, your experience, and everything you put into this podcast. Jaime, you've been here since the very beginning, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, guys, and see you on the next podcast.